Hello engineers, I'm Splattercaster. Today got a quick little video here about my latest EZ HAB configuration. This video is obviously clickbait since it is entirely possible to design a base smaller than this, but this is the smallest base more or less for the design constraints I've set forth for a safe zone base. And those constraints are fully upgraded refinery, fully upgraded assembler, full oxygen, hydrogen, suite, cryo chambers, medical room, yada yada. So this base accomplishes all that, and it does so within this safe zone sphere. Now, let's talk about why this is kind of a cool thing. Safe zones, as you may or may not know, require lots of electricity. So the minimum amount of electricity it requires to keep a safe zone functional is 5 megawatts. And as you can see here, we have cranked this range all the way down to its minimum value, 10 meters, and we're using the minimum amount of electricity, 5 megawatts. So that was the design constraints, or the main design philosophy that I wanted to go with for this base, is have a completely self-sufficient, upgraded, functional base within a 10-meter radius around a safe zone. Of course, the safe zone block needs to be centrally located to accomplish that. So, there you have it. Let's just talk a little bit more about the design here, and we'll trace out the conveyor path. Basically, we've got our medical room here that is connected to the conveyors. These oxygen farms are kind of just a nice to have. It's my understanding that it takes 3 oxygen generators in full sunlight to supply enough oxygen to keep an engineer alive, say in a cryo chamber. And if you're on a planet, that's just not going to happen because, as you can see right now, it's nighttime on the planet. The sun is behind us somewhere over there, and the oxygen farms are not functional. So those are more to just supply oxygen to the tank here while nobody's using this base. This is a public base. It's set to public use, and my public bases tend to just kind of sit idle for long stretches of time before somebody comes, maybe once every couple of days. So it's just slowly recharging oxygen when nobody's using it, basically. Other than that, they will not actively keep you alive. You're going to need to feed ice into the generator every now and then to do that. Anyways, continuing on with the conveyor path, we've got the refinery here, and that feeds cargo containers that are located underneath this safe zone. So right underneath here is 2 cargo containers. Those branch out on either side. One side's got the reactor here with the oxygen tank and this cryo chamber. The middle feeds... oh, we've got an engineer here. Hello, friend. Alan. Anyways, we've got... turn on my broadcasting so you can see. We've got the oxygen generator here. We've got another cargo container here that's branching off from the centrally located ones. That one feeds this hydrogen tank and feeds, of course, this cryo chamber. The safe zone itself is fed through the bottom, and it goes up and feeds out to the assembler, fully upgraded assembler. So that's basically it for the design. Let's talk a little bit about the configuration. We'll start with this timer block because this is interesting. So I did produce a video about how to manipulate the spawn mechanics and respawn anywhere you want, basically spawn travel, I guess it's called, in Space Engineers currently. So if you're interested in more information about that, that's a kind of an in-depth dive into the mechanics behind respawn travel and how to get to where you're going. So this system here, just a brief little overview, it's turning the medical room on. That's its primary function. It's got all these other functions. These are just turning the heads-up display things off because some dude was turning on... Hey, Elaine. Some dude was turning on the heads-up display on my previous HAB unit, and it was just kind of annoying. It would show up on the beacon itself, would display all the names of the blocks on the heads-up display. Just a goofy little troll move there. So I've got my timer block turning those off once a minute. So go ahead and turn them back on all you want, but as soon as you leave, they're just going to turn it back off. Anyways, so a little bit more about the configuration. So all of the publicly shared blocks are labeled public. That would be the assembler, the 2 cryo chambers, the refinery, medical room, oxygen generator, and these 2 cargo containers. Those are the only publicly shared blocks. As you can see, share with all, yada yada. Everything else is set to no share. Now, this vertical button panel is no share, but it says anyone can use. And that, of course, is the one that turns off the medical bay. So if we press that, the medical bay turns off and the timer will turn it back on. So during this interval, I can respawn if I want to, and I will spawn somewhere else. Other configuration settings, there's not a whole lot. The only other thing I'll really mention is the safe zone. So all of these options are deselected, so nobody can do any of those things here. Configuration filter. This is a big one if you're going to use this block or this grid, or make a similar grid, a publicly available sort of base. You're going to want to set your configuration filter for your safe zone to blacklist for a lot of these. And of course, you can customize this all you want. But what this is doing is, since there's nobody listed under this blacklist, all of the players in the game can spawn here and exist inside the safe zone. So if I think these default to whitelist, and if this said whitelist here, it would only allow people who are on that list in the zone. But since it's set to blacklist with nobody listed, then everyone's allowed in. And that also applies to factions, grids, and floating objects. So basically, with everything blacklisted, or everything set to blacklist with nothing listed, that means everything can enter this safe zone. And that's kind of the way we want it. We want people to be able to use it. So that's that for the safe zone. The reactor is set to use conveyor system off. This is just to kind of prevent sort of an exploit that allows people to pull my uranium out. I'm not going to specifically discuss how. You can probably figure that out on your own. The block is set to no share, but regardless, there is a way to get that uranium out of there. So I think using the conveyor system, having that turned off, prevents that, as far as I know. So we'll see. The test of time will tell me if that's true or not. Anyways, one last thing is I do have a private cargo container here with everything turned off. That contains my zone chips and just a few other private items that I don't want other players having access to. So again, that one is set to no share, whereas the other 2 remaining cargo containers are set to share with all. So that's really it for the configuration. Yeah, it's just a cute little base. I kind of like this other feature with this refinery, this DLC refinery. You can just hike up into here and access the medical room from here if you need to. So you're out of hydrogen. Sure, there's better ways. You can just go into the cryo chamber or something. But I kind of like that, being able to walk up the stairs and access the medical bay. It's kind of nice. So, and just to talk for a moment about the previous micro hab, or I'm sorry, EZ HAB, that was located right over here. And as you can see, this area kind of turned into a little bit of a war zone. People were digging out all over the place, trying to excavate under it to get it to fall. Didn't happen, never fell. I grinded all the juicy bits out and put them in the new EZ HAB, and then I just deleted the rest of the grid. So it worked well. It had thousands of visitors logged on the rotor that was counting visits. So that's cool. I consider it a success. People were using it. People had actually built some grids and, you know, actually made use of the darn thing. It was just too big of a PCU sink for me is the problem. It used a lot of uranium to power that size of a safe zone over time, and it was a lot of PCU. I think it was like 4,000 or 5,000 PCU. Which brings me to the point, this micro version that all fits into this 10 meter safe zone bubble has a PCU value of 600. That's it. That is nothing. So that was kind of the goal here, is to squeeze a base into a 10 meter radius safe zone and have a very low PCU value attached to it. So to that end, I think I have succeeded. Is it the smallest possible base with a safe zone in Space Engineers? No. No, it's not. But it's the smallest possible base that meets my requirements fitting into a 10 meter radius safe zone bubble. Anyways, that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.